Hello once again to another haphazard production where reality is just your viewpoint away. Today we're going to go through a few comments initially and take a look at some of the responses that these lucky subscribers got. Let's see, and yes, it does look like wood to me too. I'm sorry, Joseph Brandenburg says, "Hell yeah, Lance! Thanks for the tunnel show and share." Oh yeah, he did that tunnel thing. Yeah, way to go, Joseph. And that does look like wood and skin texture and all sorts of stuff. And then Joseph goes on to mention Roger at Mud Fossil, Mr. Hot Pants, and he still thinks we live in a ball. How cute. And well, I put in a response to that in that, my response isn't here. But I did give it a response, and so come back in and check that response because I can't remember what the hell I put. I do know what I put, and that we have to mix one with the other and come up with what we consider to be proper and true. And I also, with the cybernetic organism Satan incarnate, Joseph Brandenburg also brings up, and the comic map and crater map. And the cyber organisms, the Satan Christ concept, I haven't run into that. I trained as a seminarian to be a Jesuit Catholic priest and learned how ridiculous so much of that was. But I did come into the conceptions and realizations that priests were set up to hold knowledge that the normal people shouldn't have. Nate says, absolutely fantastic comparisons of mining today, and apparently, now this is on the Earth was stripped long ago video, and the bull history and the big ditch on how, speaking of quarries, did you see John Levi's video on the quarry in Vermont, the supposedly the supplier of all the buildings like the White House of the white marble in the 1850s? How did the massive granite stone buildings get constructed at the time of the period? And yeah, I brought that up. Thank you. And thank you, Nate, for reminding us that, yeah, where did all of the marble come from? John Levi put out a great video on, researching where the quarried stone came from and how it could have possibly been transported. And I think it's important for us to question these things to find out our own information. And also, Jane Doe mentions that people say they want truth, and she says BS on that because people can't handle the truth. And I have not watched too many the videos of Martin and the boys in a while, and they're hunting the rebel with the fascists and however you spell that bullshit. Yeah, I love the maps. Look at the map, and the fabrication of information so often. You watching the Great Reset of fucktardia now. They will blame Mother Earth for the hate, fake history, and parasite dictatorship. And that's the parasitic aspect I was just talking about in the priesthood, in where you are not going to give it to the lowly masses. You're going to keep the secrets to our higher, more important selves. And I absolutely disagree with that. And the concept, of course, is that, well, you can't cast your pearls among swine, and you can't give deep secrets to those who might abuse them. And, yeah, that's the basic, justification for keeping knowledge from people. And I absolutely disagree, and I'm working to change that. Bye. Now, Jane Doe says, by the way, of apology accepted. Oh, by the way, yeah, Jane Doe's, she and I have a long-standing detail, and she shows up in spam on a regular basis and sends a lot of good information. 88 Shinto, seen that comic map before, loved your commentary on it. It is a curious map, and I have some making up to do. I got some ass-kissing to do. This beginning of this, also in dealing with that map, that cartoon map, and the actual location and area, and I'm just using Google Earth to show that this is a land mass, and then when you look at the cartoon you see separated areas, and it's the point of the map in itself and the cartoonish aspect of it to take this and make it look like the cartoon. And do you see, before I say it, do you see what the differences and separations are between this and the cartoon? and that is the separations in themselves, where you have this is separate, that's separate, these people are separate, those people are separate, and it absolutely clarifies and continues to reinforce the separation attitude rather than the unified aspect. And ironically, there are communities being set up here that are one earth communities where people live in free harmony and don't subscribe to these separations that were so pounded in throughout the years and still are today. Wanted to mention that. I think it's important. Thanks. Irish Life says, I think the head of Spain, Sicily is a bird. Interesting maps. And I like these guys' channel. I like, as a matter of fact, a lot of you guys' channel. I pop in, I take a look at your stuff. You'll see likes and comments from me. And Ilka Freeman with the Don't Worry. No whistling, but the good song. Don't worry, be happy. Well, you know, when the rent is late, you may have to capitulate. I would like to know where the Muslims fit in with Tartaria, peaceful in their numbers. This is a deep, deep subject, and I have known some Muslims that I helped get through their cab driver training in their exams by dividing the city of Minneapolis-St. Paul into north-south and east-west directionals, and then showing them the sign of the cross saying Nicollet Hennepin for north and south, the top and bottom, and then Selby and Grand Avenue for east and west. That sort of thing. And it helped them pass their exams by teaching them the sign of the cross, ironically, and we're all pretty good, close people. They're good people. In general, Thomas Beazia can say that I called my way from paganism to the teaching of the way, the doctrine of Yahashua and Yahweh, and that is the nameless aspect of he who has not been formed, and the nameless one and the unformed, and we tend to decide, all right, well, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give it a name, and we're going to go ahead and give it a form, and that's how great we are, so we'll just say whatever we want. There are a lot of, Captain Kirk brings up the LOL great with his hand in his coat doing the Freemason hand signal. Yeah, and that was my point in the comment. It's like, woo! But I kind of knew that ahead of time before I didn't. I just expected it. And there it was when I showed the picture. It's pretty cool when that stuff happens. That's why I do things the way that I do them. And he also says the map on Wiki shows the depth of the ocean flat on top, nearly flat on the bottom due to the underwater currents shaping the bottom. Great vid, I love it. Yeah, and there are a lot of the bottom of the ocean details that I am like, what? DN, cheers, man, and cheers to you, DN. I really do have a great appreciation. He mentions he wonder if part of Africa sank. It has a huge crack on its south and east side. Yeah, and so then in that case, we would go to the south and the east side of Africa and have a look-see at this huge crack along here. And this is interesting. Looks like a range or a mountain range. I know I could put on my locator. What is it? Places. So into the African area here at the BBC. And I think it's funny. I'm going to bring this up. Look at this flow right here. It's flow. The BBC slapped a copyright on my video that showed the crab. But I think it's curious and humorous that I make jokes about here at the BBC, they say, Lance, you don't work here. And the next thing you know, they slap a copyright on me. Ha ha, it's funny. That video will be deleted. Anything without only my own work that shows any kind of copyright. And you might look at all my videos and say, man, you must have a lot of... Now, I'm looking for this crack that was mentioned in the comments. And yeah, I see this area along here. Now there's a different crack over at South America that came to mind immediately. But I wanted to run through and show a little dignity, integrity for my commenters. And it's just freaky the way that looks like an eye and this looks like a skull. I just can't handle it, lad. And of course, the dragon brought up by Roger Dodger, Mr. I don't know his last name. Maybe somebody could send me that. I like this flared tail, the whole concept of this being a huge lizard. It has that lizard formation with the neck and all. It is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And all this flow coming out of the mouth. And of course, a lot of people have mentioned this fish shape to me, this huge fish. Oh yeah, that fish. But one thing people don't really mention that often are these flows and the way the flows, the sand and water flows. But I am way off subject. I was over here looking at the African crack, and I want to bring up a different, no, not that. Here, let me just get to it. Videos, but he really goes through the tectonic plates, and that's another curiosity, is the what's under everything in what areas. I mean, the concept is that there is molten rock under everything with water on top of that, and then our landmass formations on top of that. And yeah, and a lot of people question that in itself. And I contend also, I saw Static in the Attic's video on California as the island itself sank over here, and this has always been here, sort of a thing. And that is curious and interesting as well. And wouldn't mind doing some excavation, scuba diving, and checking in this area, and encourage people to do that, to confirm, verify, or discount, or disprove, either way. And so, right, I'm going to end my final details with my greatest find since I have started my projects here on YouTube, and that is the undeniable look of the face of Christ right here. And haven't heard other people actually bring this up as a curiosity. I would not necessarily contend that there was somebody that large. It is just a curiosity. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And me and my found face will bid you adieu, and find some curious and interesting subjects, more than likely through your comments. And so leave them, gang, and thanks for playing. And this looks like, oh man, come on. Let's see this face right here? I gotta turn it. Alright, I'll leave us with this creepy little face. That's just strange right there. Almost looks like a Game of Thrones helmet with this is the center of the helmet and these pointy eyes. It's always when I'm just signing off I run across this stuff. Alright, well, don't let this scare you. It's just something I noticed. And we'll talk to you soon. Like, comment, and share. Love ya, and be positive and creative. And I'll try not to give you too much advice. Thanks for playing.